our outside zone read running play. So here's a look at the blocking scheme for this one. On outside zone, we are looking now for extreme horizontal displacement here. We're looking to really run this thing and the defensive line especially as much as we possibly can horizontally, keeping in mind again that vertical displacement on outside zone is not as likely based upon the footwork we're going to discuss here in a second, but your running back's attitude downhill has to be the same as what it would be on inside zone. We're just going to come at it from a slightly different angle, which we're going to talk about as well. We're really looking for some overcompensation here by the linebacker personnel, and I think that's really what makes outside zone a tremendous play, is when you can get that horizontal displacement from your group up front and those linebackers are forced to move along with it, they can really start to misfit gaps if you can do these things correctly. So as we look at our blocking scheme here, offensive line-wise, what we're looking for some double teams again if possible. If the call of the Mike linebacker and our combo with our center is applicable there, then we're trying to get some double teams if we can. On outside zone, it can be a little bit tougher to do, but we still would like to get at least one double team in on each one of the own plays. Now we're going to start taking an 8 to 12 inch lateral step if possible. Depending upon the technique that you're going against, you may have to abbreviate that some to a possible 6 to 8 inches. But in general, we're looking at about an 8 to 12 inch step here out of our offensive line on their first step. And that's going to start to create that extreme displacement we're looking for. When your 5 offensive linemen start really moving about a foot at a time, with those opening steps, there has to be some reaction to that from a defense. And so we're really looking to press the envelope here as far as how much we can stretch you or you're willing to possibly stay. That second step is still going to come down to the midline. We'd like to keep our shoulder square if we can. Occasionally that becomes more difficult depending upon how much open space you're in or what technique you're working towards. But we really would like to keep our shoulder square to the line of scrimmage if possible. That third step then is going to be about another 6 to 8 inch step to bring us down and again continue to create that horizontal displacement that we're looking for out of our offensive line. We don't do bucket steps. It's not that what we do is right or wrong. It's just not how we teach it. We're looking to maintain as much power as we can by keeping our toes and our hips square to the line of scrimmage as much as humanly possible and creating that displacement that we're looking for from side to side. Running back wise on this play, there are a lot of things that we've had to tweak over to try to become better and more efficient for us. I think the biggest coaching point on this play for running backs is it is not a sweep. This play is not designed to have to go outside around the defense. It is not a must stretch type play. This play is really, really good, in my opinion, when it hits inside of the C gap actually, and you cut that defense in half with a great vertical cut. It doesn't have to always be that way. You obviously are going to get a couple bounce reads where the play goes into the C gap. So unlike inside zone where we don't want that play to bounce, this is one that can bounce and is acceptable. The problem you get when you run into this and you try to run it like a sweep and get around everybody no matter what, your offensive linemen and their blocks, because your running back should be faster than your offensive line. And now your running back is going to have an unblocked linebacker at the point of attack because you've just outrun all of your blockers. So when we run this play with our running backs, we talk a lot about patience. I want the first 3 steps out of our running backs in this play to be almost about 50 to 75% speed here. We call it slow to and accelerate through. So you're going to be very slow and very patient to the quarterback until that ball hits your stomach. When you feel that ball hit your back full speed, those 3 minor steps of hesitation there are going to give our linemen time to progress better through their blocks and create a little bit of that horizontal displacement, get edges. If you just sprint through the ball, we have found that time and time again, it just messes up the relationship between the O-line and the running backs. And that is critically, critically important, the relationship between those 2 position groups here. So our running backs, we work with them on whatever footwork is comfortable with them that allows them to essentially play to the ball slower at the mesh point and then accelerate after that point. So you'll see different running backs here on tape in a second use some different techniques. Some guys that are significantly more explosive will almost take a false step on this or kind of an underneath step so that they don't just go to the ball super fast no matter what. Other guys can feel a lot more comfortable in that opening step being a little bit slower. That's your job as a running backs coach to teach up your kids on what they like the most. But our general principle here is slow to the quarterback and accelerate through the quarterback. As far as your cut read on this play as a running back now, not your quarterback's read key for the pull. As far as your running back's cut read on what he's looking for, we are now going to be looking from the outside in on the line of scrimmage for our cut here. So on inside zone, you're looking from inside out. On outside zone now, you are going to look for your cut from the outside in for that vertical cut read. And we'll take a look at that. So if you look at the diagram here, if we're running inside zone to our right, you are going to make your cut off of this defensive end here and your read. If that guy's out in a 5 technique, you can again assume pre-snap. He's likely going to be playing the C gap. My eyes will remain on him. If he plays hard C gap and contains, that ball needs to start to bend at least into the B gap and then looking backside. If he for some reason is reached or spikes into the B gap, now the C gap has become open. That becomes a bounce read, and we're going to take that thing out around the edge here. So the whole point of this, again, on our zone plays is we're looking for that horizontal displacement, but I want those running backs making aggressive, singular, vertical cuts through a defense. There's no dancing. This whole single-player read eliminates the uncertainty that can cause some of the dancing and the juking and the hesitation in the backfield. We want this to be a physical, downhill, explosive play. Quarterback-wise, footwork, you're going to be at essentially a parallel to the line of scrimmage stance here, maybe about a 10 to 15 degree turn, just to make sure that you mesh up kind of that ball of the belly with the running back here. But really, footwork on this one is pretty simple. You're almost not going to move your feet at all. Like I said, there might be about a 10 to 15 degree turn out of that play side foot, just so that you get in a little bit of a relationship with that tailback here. But the tailback's course is going to be much flatter. Aiming point-wise, you're going to be aiming for the inside leg of the imaginary tight end on this particular play as you run this course here. And you're, again, that vertical cut read to get yourself downhill. So we'll hop into some tape here and take a look. Here we go, right out of the gate. We're playing against a cover 0 team. We're going to have a 4-for-4 block here. This is all going to have to be solo based upon the scheme that they're playing. We're going to have to solo block this thing all the way across the front. And then this guy will be the read key for our quarterback on this particular play for his potential pull. So the running back is counting this player as his cut, by the way. That guy is on the line of scrimmage. He's a stand-up safety that walked up into the box here, but he will count him for his actual cut on this particular play. You can even see right now as I paused it, his eyes are dead focused all the way out here to this wide part. He's looking out here. I mean, the things that now we do a great job on this play. We actually get a 4-man seal block out of this particular play that makes this really easy. But you can also see the patience our running back displayed at the start of this play allows those guys to sink those blocks in. He gets the hooks that he wants, and we break a big one out the gate really wide. This one does look more like a sweep course here. I'll let this roll. You can see the patience he has, and then as soon as that ball hits his stomach, the acceleration that he creates as he comes through that is important. Patience, 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 ball's in my stomach, and now I'm taking off. Okay, we're pulling those blocks in, we're letting those blocks sink in, and then we're going to really start cranking our feet up here. All right, another look at one. This is a little bit odd and interesting. This actually is the furthest man outside in on this play. So this team's playing us in a couple weird different defensive looks here. This kind of 3 or 4 eye, however you want to cut this one here, that's the furthest man outside right now. So this is a pretty easy, clean read that this ball is going to go out in the C gap right out of the gate, okay? And so he stays really patient here. We're gonna sink in this double on this to here. We're gonna work this combo through backside backer and then try to get our reach right here. You're gonna see him really explode to the outside here because pre-snap, we've already got the C gap. There's no reason to delay this. Like I said, there's no dancing here. Pre-snap read, they look at the front and what they have. He knows his cut key on this. Unless for some reason this guy were to return stunt and get way out in the C gap, which isn't highly likely, he already knows where this ball is likely going to go. And so he can hit this with a lot more certainty at the start of this particular play. You can see he's still really patient. He kind of uses that false step underneath here, and we sink in a nice double. We get a great seal block, and this ball is going around the edge, and it's automatic. Okay?